This is Jordan Grace, and you're listening to the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
BWB, this is One Nation Radio. You better get it right. Rich Latta, James Boyd came to give them life. The Blackest Wrestling Podcast has come to kick all ass and drop it 6 feet if they kicking trash. Word, let me welcome y'all to something different. And if you dig it, man, you should let some friends listen. We be getting it in, this on the regular, dude. Ravish and flow, but this shit rude. See, James don't rap, so I had to break it down. The whole network, man, we coming for the crown. Raps in the columns, I keep them both covered. Making the beats too, so the listeners can bump it. Hit us with the rating, yeah, I'm saying it's a 5. Before you hit it, talk, bob your head side to side. It's One Nation Radio, and this is the beginning. It's Rich, and I'm here with James. It's time to listen to One Nation.
We got to unleash the power of the pyramid.
This is Mike Sempervive from WrestlingObserver.com. Check me out on Wrestling Observer Live every day. And also check out your boys, Rich and James, on One Nation Radio.
This is Kenny Omega. We're listening to One Nation Radio. Check it out, guys. These guys know what's up. Big Kenny Omega fans, that's all that counts to me. Goodbye and good night. Bang.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of One Nation Radio. I'm James Boyd, and here with me I have Rich Latta. What's going on, man?
Chilling, man. Just very happy to see my man David Ortiz get in the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's one day until Kobe Bryant 2-year anniversary of his passing. So yeah, end of January is always going to be a kind of a weird thing from now on, I guess.
Yeah. So give me more on that. Like, what are your favorite memories from David Ortiz, or if you want to give like or talk about that era of the Red Sox?
Yeah, man. Like, I became a Red Sox fan in 2003 when my grandfather died. He died right before the season started. In March of 2003, I was like, all right, I didn't even I watched baseball from time to time, and I knew who Pedro Martinez was and like Nomar and shit like that, and the Yankees, of course. But I was like, I'm going to become a hardcore baseball fan or whatever. And then David Ortiz is essentially the man that slayed the Yankees. My grandfather would have loved him. And he was just the ultimate clutch bat in the lineup. You throw it down and in, it's fucking gone. The heart of the city, all that shit, like a leader, like a pillar of Boston sports. And he is, between him and Pedro, those are like my two favorite Red Sox or whatever. And what David Ortiz meant to the city for 14 years is, I don't know, too many David Ortizes don't walk through the door, and seeing him go in first ballot is really awesome. 3 World Series is, turning into a human fireball in 2013 in the World Series.
Didn't he hit like 600 in that World Series or something like that?
It was hotter than the sun. It was ridiculous. The 2004 ALCS games, being up during Game 4 watching it, and then Game 5, and it was like, we're going back to the Bronx tonight or some shit like that. We'll be right back here tonight. And it was just like these marathon games. 2006, he had his best home run season. And then, there was times where, they thought David Ortiz was done. He would get off to a slow start at times in the season, and then turn that shit around. And, he was just great. And he was, he's arguably my favorite Red Sox ever. And I was really happy to see him go in. And, whether it was like, hey, you got to roll out and play first base in a World Series when you don't play all year, and he's, perfectly fine or whatever, and then seeing him trying to steal a base, which is hilarious. He was great, man. He's the, words can't describe between him and Manny. Oh my God, I fucking love those guys.
Yeah, he wasn't somebody that I'm a Yankees fan, so it is what it is. But I more gravitated towards Manny. It might have been because I had a long relationship with Manny, watching him in Cleveland, and then go to Boston he was around, he was in my life longer. Ortiz is kind of like, where the fuck did this guy come from? And then it's like, and then you're in the playoffs with him, it's like, where the fuck did this guy come from? This is bullshit. Why was he this fucking good on the Twins? This is bullshit. But, yeah, like, as far as his numbers, it's indisputable. As far as him being a Hall of Famer, I thought that they were going to fuck with him because of the Mitchell Report thing or whatever else. And you know me, like, I don't care if you took PEDs. I don't care. Like, put on his plaque that he tested positive, or any of these dudes tested positive, or there was suspicion of them, or that someone wrote a book that they could, that has information on the use of the stuff. Whatever, put him in. Like, he deserves to be in. Like, all these guys deserve to be put on. And the thing for me, which is weird, was like, he gets in on the first ballot with the test, and it goes back to like the baseball thing being like the writers just being this, this like fraternity of nonsense. It's like, okay, so we're putting in Bagwell, we're putting in Piazza, but we're leaving out the best pitcher since World War II. We're leaving out the best baseball players since World War II. We're leaving out a dude that hit 660 home runs. It's kind of dumb. Like,
Yeah.
we're picking and choosing, and, I think it's kind of nonsense. Either, like, obviously there's a case-by-case thing, I guess, to make for it, but it's like, so we're going to leave out A-Rod, probably, given, like, the way his initial percentage came in, looking at it today. Like, he's basically right where Bonds and Clemens were. So it's like, those guys just missed it, right? So, like, I extrapolate, like, 10 years from now, he's gonna be in like the mid 60s or like the mid 70s and be just short by like a handful of votes. So like it comes down to like the Veterans Committee to like to kind of save these baseball writers that are gonna die off, that are idiots. It is what it is. Like we let racists and woman beaters and cheaters in there because of the morals clause. But but we're going to put the steroid users instead of amphetamine users from back in the day. We're going to put the steroid users or PED users in from this era, like and basically ban them off like they're fucking Joe Jackson or Pete Rose who were gambling on the shit. It's like this isn't the same thing. What are we doing? Yeah. So yeah, like Ortiz is like literally the only Hall of Famer from the last two classes. No one got in last year.
That's crazy. Yeah, I haven't even heard of anybody else going in with Ortiz.
He's the only one that got in.
It's crazy.
The only other people that even got close, like Bonds and Clemens, got in this like in the mid 70s of the percentage. They didn't get the full 75%, which means they were short by like I think it's 400 and some voters. So we're talking about like a dozen voters that there are a dozen voters short or something like that for a few of them.
Bitches. Straight up bitches.
Yeah, it's nonsense. Like, look, man, my eyes saw what they saw. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I understand that Barry Bonds was really mean to you guys, and then, I understand that, but like, what are we doing here? I don't get it. I understand that, like, you think that Roger Clemens is full of shit. It's like, yeah, but you see him pitch, he won 7 Cy Youngs.
Yeah.
Like, and the same thing with both of them is like, they both won like 3 Cy Youngs and 3 MVPs respectively before they got on this shit. Like Now we're coming across where we're seeing people like, for example, Scott Rowland. Scott Rowland is now like, I think he's in like the 50s now. Or in his 60s. Like, he's going to get in like the next 1 or 2 years. Is like, okay, so y'all perfectly fine putting in Scott Rowland, who basically once he turned like 30, early 30s, was shelling himself with injuries, but he was like, we're talking at his peak.
He was a bad motherfucker at his peak.
Right, at his peak. We understand that, but we're like, what are we comparing this to? Right? Like, we would say at someone's peak is like, okay, yes, he was one of the best third bases ever, and third base is kind of underrepresented in the Hall of Fame. There's only like 17 ever that's got in. Like, you can make a case that Scott Rowland's like the 9th or 10th best third baseman ever. Okay, what is A-Rod at third base? This is fucking dumb. What are we doing?
Yeah.
So I don't recall Scott Rowland ever winning 2 MVPs. Whatever. Okay, if you say so, man. Or two MVPs at third base. It's goofy.
I think people might hate A-Rod more than they hate Bonds. So
Well, I mean, you got to think about it. The reason why people hate A-Rod is because he made $252 million on a contract. How dare he take the money that the Texas Rangers gave him? And then his biggest sin is he tries too hard to let people like him. I'm sorry. What? I've never understood this A-Rod. He's a narcissist. He's one of the best athletes in the world.
Bro,
that kind of goes with the territory of narcissism. Sorry.
There's a lot of A-Rod and Kobe comparisons, like especially like Kobe between like, you know, when I read that Showtime or the book that they wrote about like the
Perlman book.
Yeah, the Perlman book. Like there's a lot of A-Rod, Kobe, narcissist, trying too hard, never quite comfortable in their skin, like a lot of like similarities there.
I mean, there are similarities there, especially because of Kobe's upbringing, like
young prodigy, all that shit.
Prodigy, like the code switching that comes from just speaking Spanish to speaking English to being in Miami to Kobe like speaking multiple languages, being from Italy or growing up in Italy, coming over here, having to acclimate to not only the American experience but the African American experience. Like there are parallels there, but I've never considered them before. But there's absolutely there. It's instant. Yeah, man. Look, Ortiz should be in, like flat out. So whatever. Like he's the second best DH I've ever seen. Maybe depends on how you feel about Edgar Martinez or not. Like eventually, the way this is going with people not getting in, like we're gonna start seeing people besides like Mariano Rivera getting in. We're gonna see like Trevor Hoffman's and people of that ilk getting in, and like they're gonna start looking at people because of their peaks as opposed to like you got to play 15 years, kid. So yeah, like if they're going to do this with the Hall of Fame and they're gonna say, hey, this whole entire era, Andrew Jones might get in. Andrew Jones might possibly get in because I mean, one or two or three best defensive center fielders ever, hit for tons of power. He fell off like a bad bag of dope once he reached a certain age, but he had a run.
I like that Kurt Schilling like withdrew his name last year when he didn't get in. Like,
are you serious? That's what happened?
Yeah, he withdrew his name because he was like, "This is bullshit. I don't want to leave like it up to, He's one of those where it's like it's being held against because he's an asshole. Yeah,
and it's like that's not what this is for.
Look, I think Kurt Schilling is a goddamn idiot. I think Kurt Schilling is a goddamn legend at the same time.
Same, exactly. Same thing. So, like I would never want to hang out with that dude ever. However, like he's two World Series MVPs.
Yeah, he was
the co-MVP with the Diamondbacks, but whatever. We get that. Like he was one of the best clutch or postseason pitchers ever. So I it's weird what they do, man, and it's like it don't make me want to come back to the game. It really doesn't. Every year when I see like the legends that I watch with my own fucking eyes, like they be like, no,
right, yeah. Like it's crazy because like Pedro old as hell. Like Pedro was there with David Ortiz when he got the call.
Oh, so there's a video of it.
Yeah, I sent it to one of the group chats we're in, but that's cool. It's awesome. So, congrats to
Manny's never getting in. That's fucking stupid.
Manny's never getting in.
That's fucking stupid. I'm sorry.
Congrats to Big Papi, and this is his fucking Hall of Fame class.
Yeah, that was a big deal. Like that speech after the marathon bombing, like that was a big deal. Like that pretty much like obviously like. I don't recall any other black Boston athlete having that kind of love for him ever. Like Bill Russell didn't even get that kind of love, right? Like they broke into his house, shat on his bed.
He no black.
Well, there's also that too, but you get my point. Is like they don't love Manny or Pedro the way they loved Ortiz, and Pedro at his best was like. What, the second best baseball player I've ever saw?
Yeah, like I think that's a whole thing though. Like Dominican players and like the Dominican community in Boston kind of runs deep. So there's like love there for them. So
Yeah. There's a big Trinidad, or not Trinidad, but like there is a Trinidad influence out there, but like, there's a big Caribbean influence in Boston, and yeah, you're right about that. So, anything else particularly you want to talk about? Because I got two things.
Nah.
All right, so I watched me some football this weekend, and boy, the football treated me well.
The slave ball,
The slave ball treated me well. The slave ball was like, James, we miss you. We'd like you to come back, and we're going to give you and offer you, in a way. It's like, we talk about how they treated me, how I feel like I want WWE to treat me, right? Where it's like I watch once a month, and then they give me something real great, and I'd be like, I might give them a shot, like how we talking about Noah this year, right? Like that 1-1 show, like they treat you good when you come through the door, right? They do, they really do. They come out here they'll kill you, give you some killer matches, man. The 2 Sunday games, like really good football, like a great closing stretch from the Tampa LA game, where like come back from I think it was a 27-3 deficit. Not quite 28-3, but 27-3. Brady ends up tying it. And then, like, it's like, all right, Stafford, you've won one playoff game. You've been in the playoffs, so, like, this is your third or fourth time. Like, you won one game with a blowout against a team that had no business, like, even being in the playoffs. Let's see it. What you gonna do? Hitting a strike to Cooper Kupp, gets some field goal range, get the field goal, game over. Okay?
Go to hell.
Right. So Brady out in that second half stretch with like, Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd and
bro, that defense, bro, all those names that are on the Rams, that shit sounds like crazy.
That's the thing, right? So Von Miller,
like these
Jalen
are all
Ramsey,
people I remember.
They're still good.
Right.
Right? Like Aaron Donald's still the best defensive player in the league, right? Like they're treating him almost like LeBron or Jordan, where there's like they're not coming to a reason not to give him Defensive Player of the Year now at this point. This is the first year it started, but that's where they're at now. Where it's like, who's the best defensive player in the league? Aaron Donald. Who's gonna win defensive MVP? Probably TJ Watt. It's like, come on, man. Anyway, so Von Miller getting pressure. Jalen Ramsey's is pretty much guarding throughout the game, guarding Mike Evans. Antonio Brown's not on Bucks anymore because that weird thing. Their best receiver, probably Chris Godwin, he's hurt, so he won't play in. And then also, like, their right tackle was out, and their backup stinks. So, like, Floyd and Donald and Von Miller are just, he's a turnstile, bro. They just going right, look, they put in the token, they going right through to the subway, and the subway is Tom Brady. Like, they was on his ass throughout the game. It was like 17 times he got pressured. And like, and that happened throughout the whole entire game, including while Brady is still figuring out how to put, 24 points on the board to tie the game up. And it's like, oh man, this is crazy. Like, they're going to go to overtime. And if they goes overtime, Brady's about to send them home. And Stafford was like, nah, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to go out here and lose and blow no 24-point lead. And, Brady, there's some speculation he might retire. I think he's coming back, but we'll see. Now, the real thing, man, Bills versus Chiefs. That was, all right, so people start talking about, like, immediate instant reaction, and Chris at the moment, they talk about, like, this is the best game ever, and all that kind of stuff. And kind of like, you start pulling up the immediate, like, come on, man, there's this and the third, right? I'm not finna get into the comparison game, but it is absolutely one of the greatest NFL games of all time. Like,
wow,
bro, there were 4 punts in the game, or 4 or 5 punts in the entire game. Like, it was that
RL football.
Yeah, man, it really was some RLFB. It really was. You would have loved this game. Mahomes is doing Mahomes things. I sent you stuff every so often, and like you saw what he was doing. That was like some of that stuff was ridiculous. Josh Allen is basically like he's Cam Newton. He's like peak Cam Newton reincarnated. And it's fun to watch, and like it was just back and forth, and like that last 2 minute from the 2-minute warning until the overtime, like it was like based like a half hour real time of like 5-star wrestling, except it was football. We're just like, Okay, you're going to go score. Now, you left too much time on the clock. Okay, you scored. Damn, you left too much time on the clock. Okay, damn, he scored. Damn, it's 13 seconds. I think Mahomes might get down here. Oh, shit, he did it. 13 seconds is fucking ridiculous. And then kick the field goal, get the ball back, go right down. Like, it was a fantastic game. It really was. And, yeah, like, they got me back for the play. Like, last year, the only game I watched was the Super Bowl, I believe. Yeah, the only game I watched last year in the NFL was Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And the only college game I watched was the national championship game. This year, like, I didn't watch any college until the SEC championship game. And then I watched the national title game. Football is giving me games to be like, come back. You know you want to do it. Don't it feel good? Don't you miss us? And I do. I really do. So we'll see how this goes next season. But yeah, like, I still always follow. I just don't watch it. But yeah, man, it was wild. It was really fun. And the other thing is a real short story of what I was doing was so just in anticipation of potentially tomorrow, I played the Paramore Riot album.
Oh yeah.
I'm kind of we'll see what exactly plays tomorrow in Cleveland for if Gargano shows up or not. But I got myself kind of pumped because I hadn't listened to that album in like a decade. Yeah, probably like a decade. But yeah, that's all I have. That's a short thing. So let's get into it, man. Where do you want to start? There's plenty of stuff, but where do you want to start?
Let's see. Lio Rush.
Lio Rush on Twitter over the weekend posted saying that believe on Valentine's Day his contract with AEW will expire and he will move on from there. And it's just really weird. The length of the contract some just don't seem right. It seems like something that make any sense. Word is that like he wants to move around, and he does do New Japan Strong. He is going to move around. He kind of always has, but it's kind of like this is. I kind of felt like this was this place to kind of if you want to do all that stuff, you can still do it. But this is a place where like you can keep your name out there at the highest level. Keep yourself at the highest level of relevancy. And like you haven't necessarily done enough outside of show your skill. Like you haven't shown that like you can carry a program. You haven't shown that like you can finish a program. Like that's kind of what it was at NXT with the Garza stuff. Is like this is really fun, but like I would like to see him, given his talents, have a full formed storyline and showcase what he can actually do from, the beginning of something to finish it through and then go from there. Like, and I don't think he's ever, from what I've seen of him, I've never seen him do that. And that's what I kind of waiting on. It's like, he's so talented. I just wish he could, I guess for lack of a better word, I wish that like his sense of timing was longer, because it feels like he's just always eager to move on to the next thing. And I remember listening to his Jericho podcast, and he's very goal oriented and he's very focused on like, or at least at one point in time, he wanted to be the globe trotting top draw, wrestled everywhere, wrestled more dates than anyone else type of person. And he realized there was a vacuum for that, like, post Ospreay doing it. And I don't know if this goes back to him wanting to get back into that mode or whatever else, or being the top, indie guy. But I just really would have wanted him to set someplace and have a piece of work or a whole piece of work, as opposed to like, it feels like he's a really great rapper at songs or whatever else, but it's like, I want to see you make an album, right? Like, so I you can take it from there. That's kind of where I'm at on. It's like, I'm kind of just disappointed from the fact of not because like, anything bad is going to happen. Like we'll see him around, but it's like, I would have liked to see him here for longer.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I was like, well, what promotion do I like the best? AEW.
Yeah.
So where do I want to see Lio Rush? AEW, right. Probably. And
you sure you don't want the GCW?
Nah, bro, we gonna get the GCW.
I know. I just wanted to, just let people know, like,
Oh,
you know?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Get ready.
Yeah, that's like working the leg, you know.
Yeah. But I saw this and I was puzzled, and then I figured like he had to be on like either some type of prove it contract, or it was like he asked for a shorter term or something, like, because it doesn't really make sense. And then like he hasn't even had a singles match in the promotion yet, so
that's true.
And it's just it's baffling, like the timing. Of course, everyone assumed it was like, you know, my conspiracy theory was I thought he was under secret suspension and he would be back, and then whatever, and then while in that secret suspension he was like, well, can I have my release? But I guess it didn't work out like that, like, so I'll take the L on that one. But yeah, it stinks to see him go. But like, hopefully one day, you know, they'll bring him back. But I don't know, like that. It made me sad because I'm like, well, was it his last like chance on a major league level in America? Like, because like, you know, WWE, he's obviously had his problems there, and I don't know if he's
they owe him money. They didn't want to pay him. They fired him.
Yeah. Then here, I don't know if it's necessarily problems why he's leaving, but he's not coming back for whatever reason. So I don't know if it's they didn't want him back, or, you know, they had some type of early termination date, and it just fucking sucks. Like, because like he's raw as fuck, and I think he's gonna ultimately do stuff that means less in lesser places that I don't think he's, you know, I saw his match in GCW against Blake Christian. It was fine. It was like 3 3/4, maybe 4 stars if you really liked it. But it was like, it felt like complete, like that wasn't the environment for that. Like he's a higher caliber guy at this point, and I think he's spinning his tires. And I wonder what Mark Henry thinks of this. I'm interested.
Oh God, I don't want to know what Mark Henry thinks of Lio Rush again. Yeah, it's just really weird, and you know, we were talking about it as it was happening. Just more the thought was like, all right, like it just seemed so out of nowhere that it's almost like, does this tie into, you know, what happened with him asking, you know, Tony Khan for to apologize to Big Swole after what happened a couple weeks ago? So we all talked it out, and we was kind of like, this
like, I don't
really,
think
it don't like, you know, this is what you do when you grasp the straws. It don't really seem like it makes sense, right? So like it, you know, that's the kind of where we're, you know, it just catches all off guard, and you know, I wish him the best. And like, I, you know, be honest, like, you know, we're gonna see him on Strong or wherever else, but like, I really wish that he could have figured out, or they could have figured out something, because like the dude's just like, he's one of the top talents in the ring in this country. So it's like, you know, there's a bunch of matches I like to see. I would like to actually see the Dante Martin match. I would like to actually see the Ricky Starks match. I would like to see, you know, him and Phoenix, you know, that kind of stuff. Darby, and I guess not for now. I guess not right now.
Right.
So speaking of people in work disputes or work situations, Mustafa Ali, was not last week, but the week before.
We actually forgot last week to talk about it, and it worked out in our favor.
Yeah, he publicly asked for his release from WWE. You know, gave the talk about, you know, thanks for the time on myself, but I would like to move on. Days passed, and this is a time as, you know, last year they cut 90 different talents. There's no word that like they're done cutting people. And
Tony Storm just the other week, or like last month, got a release that she asked for, like
in the same day.
Yeah,
seemingly, or in 48 hours at least. So you know, he asked for his release, and then, you know, the days go by, and people were kind of like, or the word is like there was a news comes out that there was a conversation over, you know, a character, even though, like, you know, he's been pitching a bunch of different characters and angles for over the years to try to make stuff pop for him, and it's always been a no. And then he'll show us the stuff, and we're kind of like, why the fuck did they say no to this? And, word comes out that like there was a pitch for something that he thought was unacceptable, and there was a back and forth between him and Vince. And then after that, then you get the word that he wants to go home, or he wants his release. And then after that, like, yeah, you're right. Like, he went home, or they told him to go home with pay, and then now he's asked for his release in the aftermath of that. So, people were, is Vince McMahon, is the Artur of WWE over the last 35 plus years. We know that, or we all have our assumptions of what could have been said to him or pitched to him, and yeah, we don't know yet. But I think we're going to find out eventually. And I don't think he's going to be as nice as Dean Ambrose or / John Moxley was when he left WWE over the whatever Vince wanted him to say about Roman. So, yeah. So, as far as the standoff, whatever you want to call it, that's kind of where we are right now. He's home. He's getting paid. Sound
like he don't want the money either. Yeah, that man posted it. Like he's doing all these posts on social media now where he's standing in front of burning money. Right. He's blocking WWE on Fox. I saw that. Like, bro, like it had to be some racist shit that Vince told him. That's the only thing that kind of jives here. I mean, I'm not gonna look. If you were asked me to guess, I would guess something along those lines, right? But I'm also willing to just wait because like I'm sure we'll hear about it eventually. So yeah, I don't think this is gonna last. Like this isn't gonna be an impasse that goes on for like a year.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be a pack.
I feel like this
ain't gonna be a pack network thing. Like I think that like it could be like a situation like how it was with Lince Dorado and Grand Metalik, where they ask for the release, they say no, and then in the next wave of cuts, he'll probably be on the list. I think that's most likely to happen. Why did they not want to just give him an initial thing to fuck with him? So yeah. we'll see. But super talented dude. I feel a dude that should be on TV somewhere. A dude that wrestles super hard every time I ever see him. So a dude that like you when you talk about like the Observer most underrated list year after year, you think of that list kind of be like the most under push compared to skill level or overness. Like he's somebody that should be perennially on there, and I'm sure has finished in the top 5 a couple times before. So
and he's wasted a lot of his career in WWE. He's either 35 or he's older than 35 now. Mm-hmm. He's for sure at least 35 now. That guy, from the first time I saw him, I was like, he's special. Hasn't really always got the opportunities to really show it, but I feel like he's like a dream signing for Tony Khan, a Pakistani indie wrestler with Chicago roots. Like I feel like Tony Khan would identify with him and knows how he would push him, and especially like for a company like when Big Swole left, she was like some people need a little more when it comes to creative and help with that stuff. This guy needs none. Like this man will shoot his videos himself, like Darby. Everybody fucking loves him. Like
do you
online.
Remember, when he was doing the stuff with Ricochet, and they were doing all that stuff for fucking Main Event.
Yes.
Like, come on, man. Like, grab the brass ring, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This guy's.
Oh, that's not enough. It's bullshit. Oh, okay.
This guy's a super talent that's once again exposing WWE. With their pants down, the Emperor has no clothes, all these budget cuts, y'all don't want to release me, this is a power thing, this is a perception thing, and this is a you are not signing with All Elite Wrestling right now thing. Like it's like Mustafa Ali's leaving footprints on social on what he's doing, replying to Daniel Garcia and shit, and training videos and shit. So it's all out there. And I know where the arrow's pointing here, but yeah.
My thing is, even without AEW, right? Like, there is no wrestling promotion in America where he can't go and do something very good. There isn't one. He's that. I mean, he's that kind of creative force. He's that kind of level of wrestler.
Man,
is he the second? Like in this era, right? It's either him or Pac that's the greatest cruiserweight champion ever.
You know what? I don't remember him winning it.
He
won. I think he won for a short time. Yeah. But Cedric Alexander is up there too. But he's definitely one of the guys you identify when you think of like 205 Live and what 205 Live was before they, dismantled it. Essentially, like back when I used to watch it,
right?
Bro, he was fucking excellent. Like I don't know, man. Like, and I can imagine the stories he has about Saudi Arabia and everything else to go with that. This guy is like, I don't think they want him getting out and being like, oh, you're going to, getting that interview with Renee Young or Renee Paquette on Oral Sessions, the Talking Jericho interview, the Wade Keller interview, it could go sideways fast. And I was like, Mustafa Ali, all you got to do is use your power. If you want to get out of there, holla at Andrade, see how he got out of there, because I feel like there's there could be some kind of common link here,
Interesting. Whatever could that link be? Moving on. So what's next on the list?
GCW. Man. I watched the show Sunday. And
what was the official name of the show? Because I've just been calling it the GCW Hammerstein Ballroom show.
Yeah, The World on GCW.
With no O, right?
Right.
Okay.
I watched this show, and I'm
their biggest show ever.
Their biggest show ever. I've gone to GCW shows in person before on different WrestleMania weekend shows. I've gone to Joey Janela Spring Break, Bloodsport. I've gone to Verticulture, and I've seen GCW's profile grow, and those events are like specialized events that don't, represent kind of what GCW, it wasn't those three events Sunday.
Right.
There wasn't no matches with no ropes and shit out there.
Right.
And this is saw the Jeff Jarrett promo going into it. I thought his promo was awesome, this video package they did. You saw John Moxley was going to be defending against Homicide, and I just saw the Big Show. I was going to check it out, so I watched this shit, and the scramble on the pre-show is one of the greatest scramble matches I've ever seen in my life. Just dudes doing things that complete ROPW that I've never seen before. If you're hearing me on this show, go out of your way to see this match. It's crazy. But they, on that pre-show, outshined the rest of the show. This show, was ass, bro. And it was the crowd, it was they were only really into the irony bullshit. It seemed like the wrestlers that were in there, they were getting a really cool Lucha Libre match starring Bandito. They weren't really reacting that well. They put Psycho Clown on the pre-show and had him get thrown out. Thunder Rosa was on the pre-show in the Battle Royal. It was just I was, I was Psycho Clown didn't win, shut the promotion down. I was clowning or whatever, but I watched it, felt very amateurish. The commentary was abysmal, of course. They were just cursing all night and whatever. That's their style, so I'm not going to bang on them too much for that. Lio Rush and Blake Christian, as I mentioned, was cool. It was a pretty good match. I described it. I was like, it's a match that would be good on any mid card in the world or whatever. So, but the rest of it, the top three matches, abysmal. Jeff Jarrett and Effie, horrible. Jeff Jarrett did look good though. Looks like he could suit up somewhere. He hits the ropes hard still.
Don't put that shit out punch. Don't say that shit out loud.
Yeah, he looked awesome. He was one of the highlights on the show.
He'll on his deathbed, he'll still be able to throw good punches. Yeah, we'll agree. We can agree on that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Matt Cardona and Joey Janela was one of the worst matches I've ever seen. Just Cody Rhodes would think there was too much bullshit in this match. Just shit happening left and right that you don't know, like, what the fuck is doing here. Like, Soul Train Jones came out during it wearing a Vince McMahon mask, and they said basically it's Vincent that's here, and then thinking like he was wearing a Vince McMahon mask, but it's fucking Virgil. And
it's a play on the end of the Dusty Rhodes Vince NWO name.
They're bringing out Hornswoggle under the ring. Chelsea Green's doing the fake double turn with like just like his one final beat and shit, and it's like horrible. And it's just like a spot in the middle of the match. It's not like the crescendo or anything. It's like, oh yeah, we're like 10 minutes into it. We just need like a change of like, you know, momentum, whatever. And then all of a sudden Brian Myers in the ring unmasking like he's the Black Scorpion or something, and be like, it's Brian Myers, you know.
Kurt Axel?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Kurt Hawkins. Yeah, Kurt Axel.
Yeah. It was just
has Kurt Axel wrestled since he got fired from WWE?
No.
Okay. Sorry,
got out of business. But this match was like, it's exactly what the crowd wanted. They were reacting and everything.
The crowd it was over with the crowd.
Right. But I thought it was horrible. Like, I thought it was like, there's a 1-star match. Fucking Ruby Soho and the Alley Cat. The Alley Cat can't hang athletically. Sorry. Like,
which is saying something. It ain't like Ruby Soho's the best athlete in the world either.
Right. And it was like, the finish looked good. I'll give them that. But the rest of the match, like Alley Cat, you got to stop talking about PWG in your tweets. Sorry. I don't care if you're advocating like nothing. Like, I don't want to hear it. No. What else? The ladder match in the beginning to grab the brass the ring thing, abysmal. AJ Gray falling off the top of that bitch, like just creating a meme where he falls on another ladder. Hilarious.
Wait, so was that planned or what was he trying to do?
I think he was trying for a dive, but like either slipped because the ladders they were using, they weren't like wrestling ladders, I think. So like, I think he got
wrestling ladders from the wrestling store.
Right. I think he got a bad jump off the ladder, and then he came up short and ate shit on another ladder.
I thought it was on the turnbuckle.
No, he was above the ladder or whatever, above the turnbuckle on a ladder.
Okay.
And Jordan Oliver, he was jumping on the rope doing the springboard shit, but he was shaking on the ropes like more than Cody. And we know Cody, like, he'll shake on the ropes or whatever when he's up there, but like you a young guy, you're supposed to be like an athlete. Like, no. Christian and Lio Rush, some creative spots in there, I'll give them that. I thought they had a decent match. I thought it would be better, but it is what it is. That was short notice. Gresham was out due to COVID. He was supposed to defend against Blake Christian. Lio Rush originally was supposed to be in that ladder match. Right. I thought, a lot of people were saying Leo like no-showed or whatever. I was like, man, I hope like everything's all right.
Right.
Then I got word he was fine. I was like, shit.
So I'm watching the Bills Chiefs playoff game. So like you and Josh Smith from Keepin It Strong Style and a couple people else here and there, like maybe Zach Porter, were like saying things that were happening around the show or what y'all were seeing on your screens while I'm watching this all-time playoff game. And the stuff that y'all were telling me, it sounded like y'all were like high on shrooms. Like, what do you mean Hornswoggle showed up? What do you mean Marco Stunt then showed up?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
And he has blonde hair. What do you mean Lio Rush on the same day where he said he's leaving AEW just no showed like what will now be the biggest promotion he works in? And what in the Antonio Brown is going on with Lio Rush? I was like, yo, what the fuck's happening right now?
Right.
So then you find out like, oh yeah, he's being replaced in this match. They were supposed to be on, but no one ever announced shit. He's going to be a fill-in for Gresham, and Gresham is gone. I think it's COVID related, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's in COVID jail, and I was like, okay, all right. I was like, one of those like Denzel and John Hughes like, oh, whew, you almost had me there. I I was worried about Lio. So, but yeah, like it just sounded up to that point that you mentioned, like it just sounded like there was just nonsense going on in this show. And you know, but then again, you think about it, like as you mentioned, like those non-specialty matches, like outside like the Effie's Big Gay Brunch, outside of the Blood Sports, outside of you know, the For the Culture stuff, like outside of those specialized GCW events, like most of this stuff is crummy wrestling, crummy deathmatch wrestling. And it's like,
and they were dodging the regulations from New York, so they couldn't really go into the deathmatch stuff very heavy. So they were kind of limited on that, which kind of
they weren't allowed to use razors or something like that.
I think they couldn't do like the pipes and shit, like all the.
Did you use light tubes?
Light tubes.
I think tubes. Could, like I'm from Baltimore. Yep. Yeah.
I don't think they could. I don't think they could do that. So what I think they were left with was their roster being exposed for not really having anybody you'd come back for. I don't think there was a single wrestler that worked the show that got more over than they went into it, aside from Jeff Jarrett. There's no one I would ever want to come back and watch on there again. Like I said, Effie's like a nice character, but there's nothing there in the ring. Then they put John Moxley in the semi-main event with Homicide, and Homicide can't move. Crowd has no reaction. This is like a 2.5-star match. It's just Mox just fucking eats him up, kills him, whatever. And I'm like, oh, so Moxley's the semi-main event. What the fuck is the main event? So the whole thing has been, well, Nick Gage is supposedly not on this show or whatever. And then, you know, they come out and it's the Briscoes tag team title open challenge match. They hit some music, and a lot of people thinking FTR is going to show up because there's this whole thing going on. Some dude named Matt Tremont comes out, and this dude's gigantic and like big, but not like tall, like he's a big guy or whatever. And I'm like, who the fuck is this? I've never seen him before, but you know, that's just me. I've never seen him before. And then Nick Gage comes out, and he's the big surprise. Crowd goes fucking nuts, like they haven't for pretty much anything else all night. So the whole like entire promotion of this was them lying that Nick Gage was like on the outs with the promotion. He's not going to be on this fucking show, and there were a lot of salacious rumors out there. Like,
we work the sheets. We work the sheets.
I'm like, okay. I'm like, you did that for that big pop. I mean, like, you could have just advertised him, and he would have got the same reaction. Like, I think from that crowd, and
you could have gotten some more buys on the pay-per-view. You fucking idiots.
Yeah, like so it was like it was a surprise thing. I'm like, what kind of book? Like, obviously the booking is shit. Like, so like, I don't know, man. I did not enjoy the show. I don't ever want to hear GCW being called a top tier promotion. I respect what they've done business wise, and you know, it's all about finding your tribe, finding your audience, and they have an audience or whatever. Yeah. But
we know some of these. We know some of these ghouls.
Right. It's cool. God damn it. It's cool, but a con is being run, and I'm not talking about Tony. I'm talking about a CON, a con, a scam is being run. And the main event was horrible, and they botched the finish in the main event too. And it was just like, this sucks so bad. Like, me and Josh Smith from Keepin It Strong Style were just burying this thing 50 feet under. Like, when we talked about it the next day on the phone, it was just like, what the fuck did we watch? And I feel like that's the peak of the promotion. It can only go down from here. Like I said, there's no one that, I guarantee you, there's no one that just checked the show out and was like, hell yeah, I want to see more of that. It's like,
maybe,
I think I'm okay.
But it'll be so few and far between that it's almost like it won't make a difference. Like, obviously, like, their promotion wasn't a promotion that was ever going to grow, right? Like, they were never going to run, or I wouldn't say never, that might be unfair, but like, they're not going to all of a sudden run a 4,000 seater anytime soon, right? And I don't think this is even a launch pad to do even if they had like their best show. But the way that people talked about this show that I saw, people were just like, it's their biggest show ever, and they treat it, and basically like they're treating like any other garbage show they do.
Bro, and they brought in all those outsiders and were beating their own people left and right, like Jeff Jarrett going over Effie,
Yep.
Ruby Soho going over Alley Cat.
Yep.
They did get it back in the main event with Gage going over, but like I said, everything got fucked up in that. The Moxley being the champion thing, it's like this outlier thing. He should throw the GCW belt in the river, as far as I'm concerned. It's like he's there with the belt, but he's not of the promotion.
Are they there? Do you think he's going to stick around after he eventually has his match with Gage?
Didn't he already do that?
That happened? I don't even recall that happening.
Oh,
that
okay.
happened
I
already?
think they might have. I think that might have got pushed back. Or
I'm
whatever,
sure. I'm sure. Like Dan or Sam is listening to this, yes, it already happened, but I don't remember it happening because remember the belt went from Gage to Cardona to Moxley. And I don't recall Moxley ever defending it.
Right. Yeah, I think they still got to do him and Gage, but I think Gage is like he's on a time clock right now. Let's just say that like he can't move anymore.
I mean, here's the real question: could he ever move? Because I don't know.
Right. But Moxley is there, feels so out of place. Like it's just. I don't like it. Like I thought that I thought it was a bad showing for a lot of the like there wasn't anyone that was like, damn, I could see them. Like Bandito was on the show with the Luchadors and the Luchador 6-man was awesome or whatever, right? But it's like who like this crowd is like they have no idea what they're watching, it seems like.
Right. Okay, so I just pulled it up because like I have Cage Match up. Might as well look it up to see. Moxley did have his match with Gage already. It was it was on October 9th, the same day as Stardom's Osaka Joe Hall pay-per-view. So it's now I know why I don't remember it because it's like, oh, I'd rather watch I'm always gonna watch Stardom over GCW, but it's like that shit. Like you think I care about that over like Takumi Rohan and Udutami and Tamu Mayu? Hell no. So yeah. In Hazuki's return.
When I think of the independent promotions in America, and it's like they've built up, they're really good at marketing. GCW, they're really good at stealing the names of rap songs and albums in albums without permission and marketing them. If that sounded like a backhanded shot, it was.
Chopper City in the Ghetto. Okay. Okay, game changer.
Yeah, and for me, it's still PWG. It's it's a lot of other promotions, and this wasn't good.
I mean, because it was their biggest show, I was willing to give it a shot. Like, if y'all had gave me good reviews, I was going to give it a shot. I'm not checking this out. And actually, I take it back. Like, y'all told me it was so bad that I almost had a morbid curiosity, wanted to see it to confirm that y'all aren't just tripping. But then, like, everybody else also says it sucks. So it's like, nah, it ain't just them being on one and, grading it too harshly. This shit apparently wasn't good at all. So, yeah, man, like, do better. Do better. So where do we go from here?
Gunther.
Ah, shit. We haven't talked about that yet.
We have not. So they renamed Walter. A colossal error itself, right? But WWE trademarked the name Gunther Stark, where this person named Gunther Stark apparently was a Nazi.
A prominent Nazi.
Yes.
Not just any of them, because any of them names could be any, right? Any of them names could be any of them names, right? Like you throw out any name, you be like, okay. Because like I think the word is like Walter's real name is like also the name of a Nazi. Like he's a legitimate shoot name. So like how that goes. But like apparently he wasn't like a fucking commander of a submarine for the Nazis. So Gunther Stark and that name gets trademarked. People were like, okay, well, Walter's coming over here. And people were like, are they about to name this fucking guy, this Austrian guy who speaks German, are they about to name him after a Nazi? And people were speculating about it all on Twitter in the days leading up to it. And then he has the match after they announce him, Walter to start. And then at the end of the match, after he wins the match, he says the winner of this match is Gunther. And I was like, I hear about this. I'm like, oh my God, they were really going to name this dude after a Nazi. And not only, oh my God, they really did name him after a Nazi because they still just called him fucking Gunther. They heard the backlash that this dude's name is named after a Nazi, and then they said, well, fine, drop the last name. We're still gonna call him a Nazi, but not the last name. And I was like, yo, this is.
It's like, we know what you tried, and obviously they don't give a fuck, and
it's so weird. And then you find out it's like, oh yeah, like Dolph Ziggler, which is always a weird one. Like, why in the fucking late 2000s was someone named Dolph? And you find out there's like, oh, there was a prominent Nazi named Dolph Ziggler, and it's spelled like it is, and it's like you switch an E for another G, and it's Dolph Ziggler, and it's like, oh my God, like what is wrong with y'all, man?
So bad. And it just goes with like, it was like they didn't, like if they knew they were going to change it, right? Or if they knew they couldn't use Gunther Stark, right? They weren't under any pressure to change it to Gunther Stark. Right. They weren't any, like they could have went back to the lab and came up with something else completely and just waited a couple weeks or whatever.
Right.
And never revealed it because they didn't have to go on air and say, you know what, his name is still Gunther. But this is, it's not simply a name change like your Fed defense shills and
that's
people
where came up. That's what they went with first because, like, honestly, because to be honest with you, most of the name changes outside of like the Viking experience, most of these name changes are after you hear them for a while. You kind of just numb to them. It's like, oh, it's another dumb name. And quite frankly, most wrestling names are dumb names anyway. So it is what it is. Like, we just had a fucking world champion named Big E, right? Like, what? Anyway, so
it's not the fact that it was a name change. Right. It's the fact that he's Nazi.
Right. It's the critical thinking. It's the next level. I don't want to say next level thinking, but it was like the part where it's like, I get it. You're so used to this particular conversation that your default was, well, everybody has a bad name, and Gunther is a bad name, but so is Walter in a vacuum. And once you get used to it, it's like, no. I'm sure people will argue that yes, Gunther's a dumb name and he'll overcome it. Sure, we all kind of shrug when they do these name changes now because we know eventually if you're talented enough, you overcome it. If not, whatever. But the thing is, this Nazi thing.
Yep.
Why are y'all skipping? Why are y'all? This show, I guess a smart show, is leading with the Nazi thing. The conversation from that particular side was like, that is secondary. It's like, nah, like, bro, that can't be secondary. That has to be Pride fucking Mary. Like, what are we doing here?
The first part is the Nazism.
Right.
Like, that's why we're here. That's what brought us to the dance.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what. Yes. That's what we got dressed up for. Oh man, I'm glad we are not on the Twitch stream after that one, boy. Thing. Imagine if they had clipped that one. Imagine.
No.
Imagine if they clipped that one, boy. But yeah, so it's just unfathomable. And then like another part about it is like, like Ciampa, Dunn. The now Gunther, like there's been words about like they're all could come up soon or whatever else to the main roster. Like I don't know what has changed with the now Gunther's lip situation that it was when it was just NXT or whatever else with his family because he didn't want to come over here. But like if it is game time and they want to change his name, like why are y'all so pressed to do it right now this very second? Like y'all couldn't take a week to come up with a name. It's just a fucking name.
Mm-hmm. And also, how dumb it is. It's like he's been Walter on your own fucking television for years and been a champion for years.
Rich. What's the date right now?
1/25/2022.
So if we are not at the third year of Walter or going into like this is like the third anniversary, right? Like he should 2019, 20, 21, 22. Yeah, this third year anniversary. is like either like a late, on showing up on any WWE television ever is like late January. Like, he's been here. He was a fucking champion for 700 days. Like, his stable that he leads was like the NXT Tag Champions twice. Now you're changing his name. And it's like, if you want to do that, fine, but like, I guess that means he should be going to the main roster. And if that, then like, I guess he should have saved the Gunther thing for the change to main roster, whatever. It's just really weird. Is like, we've had this dude around, and not only now he's been around, like Keem said, I take it back as far as the save the name change. Like, he's been in the fucking Survivor Series,
right?
I'm sorry for doing the Bret Hart thing, saying the Survivor Series, but like he was in Survivor Series like 2 years ago, and now all of a sudden,
shouts out to Rob who brought that up to me, because I was like, well, changing his name to Gunther is step one when we look back on how it didn't work with Walter. And then he reminded me that they beat him like a geek in minutes in that Survivor Series match when he was the one that was getting chanted for the loudest.
Yes. Not Randy Orton, not Keith Lee, not Roman Reigns at that time.
Not Matt Riddle.
Not Matt Riddle. Nope. Not Ciampa. It was him.
Good luck. Good luck. If you enjoyed Walter, hopefully one day you get to see Walter again.
I have a pretty good feeling that we will be seeing him again somewhere else. I do not think that's going to last long. And it won't be because of talent. Like, he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. Like, not even one of the best in the world. He's like one of the elite wrestlers in the world. But, Vince gonna see flabby guy and be completely off of it. And look, that's his prerogative, but we're gonna laugh at it and be like Vader all over again. It's like, this dude was great everywhere he went, and then he was with Vince McMahon, and Vince didn't know what the fuck to do with him, and then he left for Vince McMahon, and then he was fucking great again.
Yep. I can see it coming.
Yep.
We travel to see what's around the bend and what we're capable of. And now Capital One's new class of travel card can keep up with you. Introducing Venture X from Capital One. With 10x miles on hotels and rental cars, and 5x miles on flights booked through Capital One Travel, and 2x miles on everything else you buy. Venture X, for those always asking, where next? Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
So, AEW this week, I think a better show than last week. I did not hate it like I did the previous episode. Thought there was like solid promos and, a couple good matches. So we opened up, we had Jon Moxley roll in, and he gets a heckler out to paint immediately. Looks great. Hey,
go fuck yourself. Get that guy out of here, piece of shit.
Yeah. So, Mox with a big F word immediately, which is cool. I
don't know. It's thought like the words, the phrase "big fucks Moxley" just came across my head. I don't know why. Go ahead, Rich.
So he cuts his promo, kind of weaves in real life with storyline, and it's really great. You could hear a pin drop. Like, the crowd was 100% hanging on to every word he was saying.
You know what it was like? It was like watching one of those Japanese matches, like when they start doing like the mat and chain wrestling, where you like people are like, you can hear the deafening silence, like being like people's burning attention to the match, where they're just like, they're just like, oh, okay, and like you just waiting for them to clap after whatever he was going to hit his first dismount, and that's exactly what happened. I was like, this dude is such a master of this, and I really love the tour. Continue, sorry.
Yeah, but it was an awesome promo, and no, they didn't send anyone out to like lay him out, or they didn't send anyone out to call him a drunk, except the fan that was up there. But they didn't send MJF out there and say, get this guy a bottle of something. They didn't pour Jack Daniels in his mouth or something like that. So
they didn't have Jericho bust him back in his head with a Jack bottle.
Correct. So now, if that happens, from forward from here, forget I ever said anything like that. But
agreed.
Yeah, so they didn't do that tonight, because I know that he's been involved in angles, at times, where serious real life things happen the same night.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, glad to see Moxley back. He looks good. I don't know if this is a new vampire gimmick he's got going on. I said all he drinks is blood. Christian Cage is already in the promotion, so I don't know how that goes, but I'm kidding. But his hairline came back looked like a little bit, and
Stop. His hair back did not come back. He just let it grow out. Like, I don't like when people were showing the compare and contrast picture of him, like when he was like, on the verge of freaking the fuck out. He was at his biggest, and then like him basically off the weights, and then like him growing his hair back, and he looked more like what we've known of him for most of his career on American television. It was kind of like, like he looks better because you remember that hairline in his picture when he was looking like a brute. He was bald. Like, he does look, but he absolutely does look better. But yeah, his promo, like, says that, like, he remember he was on a plane somewhere and he had this dream where there's this dark cloud over him, and the cloud says, like, you really thought, like, you're going to make it out with everything? Like, you thought, like, that, like you were going to live a happy life? And then he talks about how, everybody has these dark clouds, these demons, and everything, and everybody has to fight them in their own way. And he talked about like how like he's a fighter. He's in and like I'm going to kick this. I kick this thing's ass. Like I kick everybody, just like I kick everybody else's ass. And it was awesome. It was awesome. And he had that line about like for people that are in the back, like that want to try me, whatever else. Like I'm thirsty, but like but the only thing these days I drink is blood, and yes, tons of brood references after that online.
Yeah, for sure. MJF was backstage with Wardlow. He apologized to Wardlow for losing his cool last week, but MJF said he couldn't allow Wardlow to put his hands on him again, so he had to dock his pay. I fucking howled laughing when he said that shit. Yeah,
which is also funny because like he's the first person that touched first, which is like kept pushing him in the chest, and then he just like. Outstanding. Outstanding word.
NJL says Sean Spears is going to show the world tonight and Wardlow how to get the job done against PG Punk. So after that, we had the mixed tag match. Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander against Cole and Britt Baker. Thought this was a bunch of fun. Like, I normally hate mixed tags. I'm not really interested in them, but I thought it did a lot of cool spots up until the finish. The Britt breaking the table was kind of weak. I think she took a rather soft bump and then acted dead or whatever. But I think everything leading up to that was pretty cool. A lot of subverting expectations and catching out of nowhere with camera cuts and be like, oh, this person's going to hit their move. I thought Statlander looked excellent in this match. And we're one step closer to Cole versus Cassidy, as we'll get to, after this. Like, Cole ended up cutting a promo in the back, challenges Cassidy to a lights out match for this coming week. So, know what that means. I think it's time for OC to get a win.
Yep, that was exactly what I thought too. Like, and I gotta change my nickname in the messenger thread to like lights out is a con. Like, Adam Cole whooped this man ass from pillar to post in every fathomable matchup for like a month now, or weeks anyway. And like,
so you know what it is when it comes to the best friends and all that. When they get to the blow off match, there's always one more person there that you ain't expect, and they got the advantage.
Right, like that's exactly how they lost the fucking was it the Backstreet Brawl is what it was called?
Yeah,
it's like the baby faces. Like at the end of the day, like we just gonna cheat the baby faces. Why not?
Yep.
What the fuck? Yep. But that did the arcade match break out like that too?
Yes. Because Statlander came out there.
Yeah, she came back. It's like, at the end of the day, we're baby faces,
came back too.
And we will cheat. You're right. Trent came back in that situation too. Yeah, you're right.
So, you know how they get down. So, but I thought this was a ton of fun. Like, and the crowd was into it, and it's pretty cool.
Fun match, more fun than it was a good match, but it was more fun than it was good, but while still being a good match. Like, I'm with you. the Brit spot through the table looked bad. The angle where like the angle on the horizontal ramp where Adam Cole is trying to convince me that he is going to give a Panama Sunrise to Statlander. I was like, man, stop bullshitting. What? I was like, where's Britt? Like, as he's doing it, I'm like, where's Britt? Because obviously I know you're not about to actually fucking do that. So where's Britt? And then Britt, like, literally comes through the ropes and it super kicks. And the super kicks that it didn't look good. I was like, oh, man. But yeah, it was a fun match. And, yeah, like, so I guess you have to rate in the top 3 of U.S. Mixed match tag matches. Like, you got the WrestleMania 34 match of Ronda and Angle and Stephanie and Triple H. You got the Cody and Red Velvet versus Shaq and Jade Cargill. You got this. Like, it's somewhere in the top 3. Obviously, it's not nearly as good as the Ronda match, but it's like, as far as being a serviceable match, that's, you know, just having a good match is a high bar of a high level of difficulty with this kind of situation where, like, you got to come up with all these interesting ways to, like, basically, like, have these contrived hot tags over and over and over.
Right. So, like I said, we got a lights out match next week. I think that's going to be interesting. We know Cole likes to be in matches with no rules.
Deathmatch wrestler Adam Cole,
Correct.
CZW.
Yep. So he's probably going to do some crazy shit. I don't know what Orange is going to be like in this environment, but I'm sure he's going to be up for the occasion. So
Orange finna beat that man on the death with a bag of oranges.
Yeah.
I would do that spot. I would absolutely have that man, like, you know how you go underneath the ring and you pull out the tacks. Like, you have Orange underneath the ring and you're like, oh shit, he pulled out tacks. Nah, like, he drops like a couple oranges. And then, like, this, he's just beating the hell out of that man for a couple swings with the oranges.
Yes. So Jericho's backstage and he is interviewing with Alex Marvez, and he's like, I don't care about Eddie Kingston, and then Ortiz was like, Chris, with all due respect, maybe you don't care about Eddie Kingston, but we do. And then Santana says, something Eddie said last week rang true. Maybe next week we'll focus on ourselves and less on you, Chris. You feel me? And then Jericho's like, no, I don't feel you. And He's like, look like he about to cry a thug tear.
A thug tear. Yeah. I don't get where they've all of a sudden just like I feel like it's been shoehorned in. It's like, okay, so the way to bring intrigue into this is like throw in the part about like Jericho holding back or Santana Ortiz is like, yeah, but like, can that like actually like match the reality of anything we've ever seen in AEW? No? Okay, thanks. All right, so like it's just a contrived thing to make it work. And,
I think that's something that's actually more prevalent among fans than it actually plays out in the storyline, because a lot of people...
You did mention that like a week ago, as far as like that being there online, but it's just like... And I remember saying to you like, but that's never played out on TV.
Some of that's Jericho resentment, I think, and some of it's just, and you look at the tag division, I think, like, I don't think there's anybody I would have made them the champs instead of, like, so far, like, based on how it all played out, I'm like, they'll get it if they get it, I feel like, but I don't, there's a lot of good teams in this promotion. So it's like, there's going to be some people at the top, there's going to be some people in the middle, there's going to be some people at the bottom. Like, could they eventually get to the top? Sure. But the fact that they haven't, I don't think is a crime against humanity.
Yeah,
especially
and it's
like
definitely not an indictment of Chris Jericho, who doesn't have any booking power, as opposed to like the two former tag team champions that actually have EVP control. It's really weird. It's like I don't know what's going on here.
CM Punk versus Shawn Spears. Shawn Spears gets like a superstar entrance, cool music, spotlight, coming in the ring, poses around. Off that good promo, they showed a promo he cut on Rampage. We're getting all this extra shit. CM Punk gets in the ring, squashes on 1, 2, 3. How can you not love
MJF also comes out on commentary.
Yes. How can you not love Sean Spears? I saw this shit and I fucking howled laughing. Like, I was like, this is why I love him. Like, bro, like, he loses nothing by losing like this. It's just like, he's already a geek. He can't become more of a geek.
Right.
Like, what already happened. It's
right.
Like, yeah, he's awesome. But
you remember, like when you go to a convenience store and they put that thing out there, you know, to give a penny, take a penny.
Yeah.
Like, Sean Spears last week and this week literally was like, take a squash, give a squash. Or give a squash, take a squash. Like, just funny.
Yep. So Billy Gunn stole a backstage camera. Christian Cage was walking around, and Billy said his boys in the Gun Club deserve a match against the tag champs, Jurassic Express. Christian told Billy Gunn that his boys need to make a statement and then they can talk. He said, but, you know, maybe just like their dad, they never quite, you know, got that signature win. And that was a little bit too far. And then all of a sudden the Gun Boys whooped up on Christian Cage's ass and fucked him up, quite frankly.
I mean, which is to say, like, they was going to jump him regardless, but like after he said that, then it's like, oh well, you deserve it.
Just
so
get
like,
to it.
Not even get to it. Like, forget the part. I don't even feel bad that we jumped you now because he says some shit like, oh, you want to talk real reckless to my dad, huh? All right, you deserved it. You said some shit that was out of pocket. You got whooped. I don't really feel bad for Christian.
That's how it goes, man. Like, you know, thought it was sweet. Thought you was gonna sell out. No,
like because look. He didn't know he was getting set up to get jumped. Like
that man was in the danger zone.
Look, an old wrestler worker from the E talking to another old wrestler from the E, just saying, "Hey, you got your kids and or your surrogate kids, and they're the champions. I got my actual kids and they're contenders, and they've won. How about it?" Christian could have been like, "Well, you know." Just like he said at the beginning, he was being diplomatic and he wanted to be a dick after that. All right, well, we don't even feel bad that we about to jump you now. You lucky we don't rob you. They should have took his shoes.
Take his wallet too.
Yeah.
Take his passport.
Take his phone. Oh, damn. No, damn. I mean, he's like he's white. Otherwise, that could have been something totally different if he wasn't white and they took his passport. Oh, man. They would put that man in one of them holding buildings. God damn. Oh, where are you going? Come here.
You. So up next we got promo from Cody Rhodes. It pulls a ladder out. And pulling the ladder out was about the only thing that made sense here. I thought this promo was all over the place. It was like Rick Ross Mafia music. It was like any other rambling song. Like it was kind of like a spoof of the pipe bomb, kind of in his own way. But the crowd got really going at a certain points. But it was like a rap verse where you throw a bunch of you throw like a bunch of lines in there. Like, say this was like a 64 bar rap verse, right? With like 4 different punchlines that all were in the verse, but like scattered. But everything else that was supposed to hold the verse together didn't at all. And I heard all this stuff and I was like, what is this about? And I was like, this, like, obviously, you know, they did the whole thing with him last week and the contract status and everything like that. And we knew that was leading to nothing or whatever. And that was like I think they just won a couple of days of press with that. And I saw this promo. I'm worried about the TNT title. Cody's apparently not really worried about that at all. He actually brought up the Young Bucks at some point, and then I was like, here we go. Like, that's the thing I think that would be interesting. But then he's, talking about, hip toss class with, the Young Bucks beating developmental again. And then he's calling out CM Punk, saying he didn't do those things. So it was like he wanted to turn heel, and then he was like, nah, but y'all cheered me and I needed that shit and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I'm left confused. I don't know what the point was. And then he gets up on the and challenges Sammy Guevara. Basically, is like, y'all know what this is, and I'm like, well, thanks.
Yeah. So I don't have it up in front of me, but like he mentioned the Young Bucks thing. He mentioned these like the Young.
He
Bucks
started mentioning Jay Lethal and Malachi.
Yeah,
Black.
I'm getting to it.
My fault.
He mentions the Young Bucks in reference to the upcoming, thing that's going to happen with Red Dragon. He's talked about like, I don't want to see the Wednesday Night Wars being brought back. Like we already won, they don't need to win again, or whatever else. And then made allusions to hip toss class for Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. He mentioned Malachi Black at one point. He mentioned Jay Lethal and Sammy. Was it Sammy Guevara?
Bro, he mentioned Sammy, Ricky Starks, Jay Lethal.
Yeah, it was Ricky Starks. It was
Brody
Ricky Starks
King.
He mentioned Brody King as far as, and he talked about how, and then he mentioned Gunther and in relation to Brody King as far as like how, and I thought it was a cool line, but as far as like what it has to do with what he's talking about, not really much anything. He mentioned Brody. He's talking about how we don't do this thing where like we change people's names, like name Gunther McGillicuddy. So you already know the kind of balls that Brody King has to, kind of know the balls he has to have to name himself, to come to this promotion to call himself Brody. And, Brody Lee's son will have to, will come see him about that in 8 years, something like that. It was a lot of stuff. He mentioned, as you mentioned, the Ricky Starks and Jay Lethal thing for the FTW title, and talked about how like when Jay Lethal,
about real life,
when Lethal hits you with a lethal injection, like it's actually a protected finish, it's not like the RKO. At some point during the promo, he talked about like he brought this thing up, and he's done it twice now on TV, where like it makes me think like he's going to lose it again. Like I remember the go home situation with Darby when he finally lost to Darby, and Darby won the TNT title. How like he said to Darby like, "You're not the ace, Darby. I'm the ace," or whatever. So I was like, "You ain't the fucking ace either, man. Like it's just it's a TNT title." So he goes to Sammy. So in talking about Sammy, when he finally got to Sammy, he talked about how like the TNT title isn't a secondary title, it's the top title. And I'm like, Cody, you're never
Who are you trying to convince?
You're never going to convince anybody of that, because one, like that belt never main events any pay-per-views, and two, it is being held by you and the mid-carders. Stop the bullshit. No one's buying it. I'm sorry. We have eyes, we have ears, we've seen other promotions. That's why we're here watching AEW. Stop bullshitting us. So, like, that was the only thing I really had any real issue with. It's like why is he still trying to get this over when, like, one is, there's two titles, one is always gonna be higher than the other one. There's no point if you have two titles on equal footing, what's the point of even having the second title? Might as well just make it one. And, it was just weird. It's like,
like if you're gonna build up that second title like it's the IWGP Intercontinental title, like just build it up. Like I think he's a little bit too on the nose with, hey, this is not a secondary title, where it's just like, you don't have to tell us that. You can just like show us why it's an important belt. At
first I was giving him grace on it because he was at first, like his first reign or his first two reigns, he was promoting it and talking about it as, and AEW as well, is like, we want to make it to where it's not a secondary title, or it's not a mid-card title was the word. Mid-card. And it was like, okay, fine. So like, you're going to give it to, you're going to treat it as one of the better secondary belts. But now they're flat out saying, or not they, Cody in particular saying like, it's not a secondary belt. And I'm sorry. Well, if it's not necessarily secondary belt, then what is? Because you got two men's singles belts. So one of them by definition has to be secondary. So which one is it?
According to him, it would be the damn world belt or some shit. But I'm sorry, like, no, man. Like, Cody being Cody,
right? and then
talked about the Forbidden Door stuff.
Yeah, that's how he got to it. And like, to be fair, like at that part, I thought like that made sense for him to say that kind of stuff. Whatever it was, whether you cheer for him or boo him in that situation should be based off of how you feel about him at that time. But it actually seemed like he was going somewhere in relation to Guevara, and then he started going into all these digressions, or I didn't know he cut digression because he was doing it on purpose, but like. He would start going into these other parts. We're talking about Brody King and Brody Lee in -1, talking about Randy Orton and Ricky Starks, and talking about his shoot friend Ricky Starks and and Jay Lethal. It was just like, this could have been cut in half or cut down by a third. Like that stuff was unnecessary. Like
why would you use that CM Punk stuff? And like,
I thought he was going to tie it to Darby. I really thought he was going to tie it to Darby, but like,
why
ultimately,
would you
then he
use
started going
that?
to other places where like the Young Bucks stuff is like, so maybe he was, but ultimately we ended at the spot where like he was just saying a bunch of different shit, and he lost. It's almost like he lost track of where he was getting to, because like it did none of that. A lot of that stuff had nothing to tie into like actually promoting his match with Sammy Guevara next week. It was just weird.
I'm like, that's like the perfect thing you say when you're actually in a feud with CM Punk. So it's like,
but that's the thing, Rich. When do we ever expect him to be in a feud with CM Punk?
I think it's going to happen this year. But
so he's finally going to get out. So he's finally going to stop gatekeeping mid card.
Something's going to happen. Like CM Punk's fucking around on Twitter saying he's going to handle them and shit like that. So we'll see.
Can't wait to see those matches.
This is more Codyism, more stuff that I think people like can get fired up on the outside on it when he's just mentioning all these names and doing all the name dropping. Like you brought up a good point, is like the game or whatever, but like there's nothing behind this stuff. So it's ultimately less effective.
I think that it does. I don't think it has any teeth, because it's like, look, Brody King could have something to do with him, right? It could. CM Punk could have something to do with Cody. But like the Ricky Starks and Jay Lethal thing has nothing to do with him. The Young Bucks and Red Dragon have nothing to do with him. It's just him just saying shit.
Freestyling.
I mean, yeah, because it's like, people do, drop hints and breadcrumbs as far as leading to feuds or whatever, but like, he's not about to feud with the fucking Young Bucks. Who's his tag team partner? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, man. I feel like the
my
Bucks
shoot
should
friend
like,
Ricky Starks. Okay, my
it's
legitimate friend's Ricky Starks. Okay.
The weirder thing is, like, if no one actually responds to this promo, like, then it'll be even fucking dumber, because I don't anticipate the Bucks getting on camera and be like, Cody, like, no, like, I don't expect Malachi Black, when he's like worshiping the devil, to take time to look in the camera and be like, hey, Cody, I heard you brought my name up again, or something like that. Like, it's just bullshit. Like, so I don't know.
He already lost that feud too, so it's like, why are we going back?
They booked Anna Jay versus Jade Cargill for Rampage. And then we got the House of Black squashing Varsity Blondes. They kicked the shit out of them.
Yeah, because in the match where Malachi more or less squashed Pillman, because he basically botched a springboard, he was going to get his head fucking taken off with a black mass. He is now shook of Brody King to the point where like he was afraid to pull the trigger and actually launch himself on top of the ropes. So then from there, like they just destroyed him in seconds.
There was a spot, Griff Garrison like landed on the steps. That shit looked like it hurt, and he took one of those. It's like one of them football hits, like when you try to get up quick to show you ain't hurt. It's like, no, nigga, I know that shit hurt.
So
he's tough.
So I don't know the name of Alistair and Brody's move is, but I'm sorry, Malachi and Brody's movie, like, but it's basically like an alley-oop power slam.
Yeah. Dante's Inferno, I think.
Okay, I'll throw that as my notes for finishes.
So Pac appeared on the big screen. He took off the blindfold, so Pac is no longer blind. Everybody, stop writing your letters. It's at House of Black. He's going to make a martyr out of you. So Cutler was backstage. They booked Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero. Rocky Romero and Trent Beretta jumped in, took the Bucks interview time. They basically challenged them. Of course, that match wouldn't happen because Rocky came down with COVID. So it was
switched to a singles match between Trent and Nick Jackson.
Yep. So we got from Lance Archer versus Frank Kazarian, and this went on so long. I was bored, like, and it was just like, look at your phone, look at your phone, look at your phone, and it was a match.
I mean, it was basically like Archer just beats the living hell out of Kazarian forever. Kazarian mounts one comeback, gets cut off, and then pinned. Or gets cut off, gets set up for his finish. He escapes the finish, gets caught again, and then he ends up getting hit with the Everybody Dies.
Yep, and then
the blackout, not everybody's.
Shivani got in with Dan Lambert saying he didn't understand this relationship. Archer grabbed the mic. They say, you don't need to understand this. Tony Heyman Page isn't old enough. You're not mentally, physically prepared for this monster. Or that's what Lambert says. Archer snatches the mic, says, enough of this cowboy bullshit. I'm going to show you what I'm about to do. I was like, I need a clip of that. But he was going to basically do a blackout on the ramp to Archer, or excuse me, to Kazarian, and Heyman saved him, came out, crowd was real hot for it. They went face to face, fought. He sent Archer scurrying after he blocked a buckshot lariat. But this looked good. The brawl looked good. They look like they have some chemistry fighting. I'm pretty excited to see where they go with this.
Yeah, this match is going to be fun whenever we get it.
Dante Martin gets back with Matt Sydal and Lee Moriarty. He said, until your brother returns, we'll watch your backs. Like, you had our back against Team Taz. Oh, and then we got just one of the most hilarious segments you'll ever see. Told you Giovanni was backstage with Chris Statlander and Red Velvet. Then legit Layla Hirsch walked up wearing all black, so you knew something was about to happen. They told her, Layla Hirsch, she is not from this country, so she's like very upset. She said that you guys have become so selfish. You've cost me thousands of dollars. She's not playing about her currency. And you've cost Red thousands of dollars. And then Red Velvet told Layla to relax because it was just a miscommunication, and then turned her back on her. And then that was, the sign for Layla to jump her. Chris Statlander is like, what the fuck are you doing? And then Chris Statlander
looks down and tends to
turns her back on this woman because she doesn't know the culture.
She's never watched wrestling before. She's an alien.
She doesn't know the human culture.
She's an alien.
Correct. So she gets whooped on too, and then she put Statlander in an armbar submission. So Layla Hirsch beating up two women at once. After that, Serena Deeb in Sky Blue. Serena Deeb destroys her, kills her.
Stretch this woman in minutes.
Yes. This is destruction. Yeah, pretty much.
What was it? Tequila Sunrise?
Serenity Lock.
Yeah, Serenity Lock. Yeah.
Yeah. So short match, but getting over.
It was fun. It was fun for like the little bit of time she beat the hell out of this woman.
Yeah, Serenity getting over, kind of. I just don't know where, like, obviously they got two heel champions, so they got her too, so, like, they gotta figure something out.
Maybe they use her to heat up the next face before the title shot. Like, maybe it could be, maybe it's Rosa. Maybe they do the Rosa again.
Yeah. So, Ethan Page challenged.
But she's getting over. Yeah. Like, I mean, obviously that was her home area, but, like, the crowd liked her. The crowd really liked her.
Yep. So Dan Lambert was at the Men of the Year. Ethan Page challenged Moxley. And then we got Matt Hardy backstage with the HFO and Andrade El Idolo. So Matt Hardy says he sold 51% of the HFO to El Idolo, and from this day on they'll be known as the AHFO, but he's going to retain the majority on the board of directors there with Private Party, and then Jose the assistant, and he'll have the 3-2 advantage. What I think Matt isn't anticipating, though, is Private Party is going to end up voting with Andrade, and he's going to end up out of here so he can reform with his brother whenever the fuck that happens. But until then, the AHFO is probably going to be a personal favorite of One Nation Radio, is just because I feel like hilarity will ensue with all the money being flashed around and these guys, with Private Party, and then the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny, like just looking like what the fuck's going on. Jose the assistant.
It is such a motley crew of people that don't fit together at all. It was like they've all been acquired by Matt Hardy, and now it's like they have now been acquired by Andrade by way of Matt Hardy.
Matt Hardy ridiculous. Or Andrade buying people out here.
Yes,
buying.
Apparently and they've been trying to. He was outsourcing the work to Pinnacle for FTR. Now he's like, I'm tired of renting out. I'm buying my own goons now. Yep. So I own these goons. I got slaves.
Bought my own stock.
Yes. There's something else I would say he also bought, but I don't feel like editing it. But remind me to tell you what he bought on off air, Rich. But anyway,
he said also he wants that little. He
wants to buy. Yeah, so look at it. Like he bought all these people so he can acquire the little kid that works for Sting, for Mr. Sting. So yeah, this is ridiculously stupid, but it's fun.
This is like somebody in the Heenan family was being sold or whatever, or some shit like he bought some shit from Mr. Fuji. You'd be like, "Thank you, and pleasure doing business with you." That's what this was.
Yeah.
So Sting and Darby Allin versus the Acclaim in the main event. Max Caster says he's gonna do Sting worse, make you look worse than Starrcade '97. It's fucking hilarious. Every week, the Acclaimed is just I feel more vindicated from always being an Acclaimed, always believing in the Acclaimed.
So Max Caster verse in particular, because there was a weird time throw off thing. Long story short, it was an 8-bar thing. 7 of them bars were whack. And then he had the 8th bar and it was good. And then they're like, okay, whatever. So the match, they basically beat down Darby. They beat them down, Sting and Darby. And then they grabbed Darby and they basically put his head inside of a chair. And they then run him into the turnbuckle. And Medical tends to Darby before the match. The bell actually rings for the match. And they actually take him to the back. And they ask Sting if if he wants to continue wrestling. Sting gets in there, and then it's basically a handicap match for the first half of it. And Sting is out here like holding his own, and he looks good. And he actually ends up getting one of them from Acclaimed in a sharpshooter as the other tries to break it up. And then he hits head in the face. And he no-sells while holding the Scorpion Death Drop, and I'm sitting there like just loving it. And then eventually they break it up, and they eventually turn the tables with the numbers game, and Sting is down and out, and then Darby makes his triumphant return, and there is a double coffin drop on both members of the Acclaim from the floor from the top turnbuckle to the floor. Sting ends up getting Max Caster basically like halfway laying over the scorekeeper's or announcer's table. He basically goes up the ramp and he does a dive. Because we were like the whole time, like based on the angle, we couldn't see what was going on, what was setting up. We were like, where the fuck is he going? And he just jumps off and dives on the Max Caster through a table. And then they ended up getting Darby ends up, they cut to the ring and Darby has Bowens laid out and he ends up dropping Bowens with a coffin drop to get the win. This match was way better than Handy Right being.
Ruled. They actually did a diss song. Max Caster did
the next week. Yes, yeah.
It was called Goth Phase. Like the beat is actually hard as fuck. Like I listened to it a couple times. Like
it's actually good.
Yeah,
it was good. I listened to it. I enjoyed it. Yes.
Yeah. So I was like, yep. Like these boys gonna be baby faces eventually. Like enjoy it now.
We got big bats on the song. Casper says we got big black bats for your little white dick. He's so fucking he's a 5-year-old or he's a 15. No, I'm not even saying it. He's like a 12-year-old. That's what he is. He's just a fucking child, man. Like,
bro, he's hilarious, bro. Like it's like the wrestling ain't all the way there, but like
the wrestling ain't all the way there. The wrestling ain't there yet.
Look, I'll take him as a personality any day. Like he's a shithead. Oh, he's great.
He actually, that's a good point. He is a shithead. He is.
Yeah, but that was Dynamite. But as good as Dynamite was, I thought Rampage was
way better. Way better.
Like, man, this was like live Rampage. So we opened with John Moxley and Ethan Page, and this was a good match.
Ethan Page does it again, man.
People always talk about that man.
You put him in there with a push star or a feature star in AEW, and he always has a very good match.
Yeah, I have liked Ethan Page even when he was in Impact. I thought he had top guy potential there. I think this would be a little bit more competitive in AEW, but I think people they give this guy a lot of they give him a hard time, kind of unjust. Scorpio Sky as well, so I'm enjoying the pairing. And Mox, got the win. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, solid match.
I gave it 3 1/4, but like it was fun. Like to see Moxley back and him going back and forth with a dude that knows what the fuck he's doing. So yeah. Like I don't get the people that think that dude's not a good worker. I just don't.
Yeah. And then speaking of good workers, we got Trent versus Nick Jackson, and then whenever we get Nick Jackson in the singles match, shit is usually special, and no exception here. And Trent was like right there with him, step for step. Like I don't think Trent will ever actually get a push. I think some people want that, but I think there's so many people in front of him.
Yeah, and also like his gimmick is that I don't want to say he's Demon or he's Lance Storm, whereas like his gimmick is that like he's purposely he's trying to entertain you by him being a straight man and boring. But like there's a lot of that is just like, yeah, man, like it's not that serious, just wrestling. Like it's not that serious. Like all the him and the Hong stuff. Like, no, man, it's fine. Like it's cool, Brandon. Like we're not going to beat you up. Just let us record this thing, okay? Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, really good. Great match. I irrationally, not irrationally, but like I like Trent and guys like that more than most because like he gave my choice of like all promo and no wrestling or guys that can really wrestle and at the bottom of or against guys that need to have good matches and just get beat. I'll take more of those guys than I will of just the Miz's of the world. Mm-hmm. Like I think you can have one or two Miz's, but like 4 of them. You start having 4 and 5 of them. Your promotion
then you got to book them,
right? Like as opposed to like guys you can go out there like the Kazarians of the world, the Trents of the world, like. Low stakes, the Bobby Fish of the world, the low stake guys with some credibility, and that you can just go out there and you can beat against any star. Sure. Mechanics, if you will, sure. So yeah, really good match, and like Trent fucking won.
Yeah, the Young Bucks always lose singles matches. They always lose.
But the Trent, because Trent, look, bro, you know how you say like they always lose, but it's like, but Trent always loses to people with names, so it's like
Bro, like last time Nick wrestled, he wrestled Phoenix. He lost that one, and like they weren't in any big type of program. That was like the first 6 weeks of the show.
Wait, Nick? I thought Nick won that match.
No, Nick lost.
Okay.
Like the Bucks never win singles matches, but they're always like fucking great. And it's like I think they put a bio up.
Speaking of that, when are we gonna get this Hangman Page Matt Jackson match? When is that gonna happen?
I need to see that.
Matt needs that ass whooped.
I don't know, but I'm gonna start driving the agenda now. The Nick Jackson TNT title reign. When do we get that? Nick Jackson's incredible legend. Like, just love him. Like he was it was just, he was styling. It was like some Shawn Michaels shit what he was doing in there. Like just like makes everything look super easy. Has a look on his face like, yeah, I know I'm great. Lounging, eating shit, doing athletic shit. Like nigga's phenomenal. Like so after that we had Hook versus Serpentico. Hook's first live television match. They mentioned Hook and show him on the graphic. Crowd goes fucking insane. He comes out, jumps Serpentico during the bell, fucks him up in like less than 2 minutes. Standing Kata Hamaje or whatever the fuck that
standing
that
Taz
is.
mission. Don't go through all that shit.
Yeah.
It's a Taz mission.
So they do that, and
I think he calls it red rum, right?
Yes, red rum.
Yeah.
Then they start greasing the tires a little bit on the Hook babyface turn because they're putting QT out there or whatever to fuck with them.
That's the second interaction. Because remember, he when he squashed Solo, he laid him out then too.
Yep. So like the Hook thing is working. He's already a top merch seller. This guy's a star, and it's like they treated him like, you think about every step of the Hook thing. They literally treated him like a young lion from New Japan. They made him stand outside at ringside, and he actually got to kind of be more of a character than a young lion or whatever. So he got to, wear his hoodies or have that look on his face or get involved a little bit. But he was out there learning, absorbing, kind of, becoming something to look at essentially. And then this whole thing, they bring QT out. He slammed, suplexes QT, steps over him, like does the Iverson step over and walks out. And he's just like, looks very cool. So like, it's really one of the easiest things in wrestling to get. So Hook is great. But we got a main event, Jade Cargill and Anna Jay, TBS championship match. And James, this was so much better than anyone could have predicted, I think. I feel like these two have either trained with each other a lot. They're both like QT Marshall students. So they probably, have come up with different counters. I thought the counter that Anna Jay dropped into, her sleeper hold with was like really cool. Some of the strikes from Anna Jay look weak, but usually her strikes, look weak. But I think these two pulled off like more than an acceptable match. Jade felt like kind of big time coming out there, got, a lot of love, and you see the big graphic behind her, and it's like she's turning into a star, and her segments are popping like quarters, and she kind of got trusted with the main event spot live, and that's, you told me like they were gonna put them on last. I'm like, all right, you could do it, whatever. We know how the patterns work or whatever, but I think they held it down and actually like kind of gave something that people were excited about after the match.
Yeah, it was a good match. And you're right, there might be something to their chemistry as far as possibly working a lot together, training together. It was the best match I ever saw Anna Jay have, I think. Or that's not a death match. It might have, I think,
she also had a good match with
match.
Brandy, which was like shocking at the time.
So yeah, it was a good match, and that graphic at 25-0 was, that was cool. Where do you think she ends up? Where do you think she ends up at? Like, how high do you think this thing goes?
I think so. Right now it's January. I think if you're, looking at it, maybe All Out. Maybe like September, they find someone to actually end it. But I like what they're doing with Jade. I think her presentation is like top notch. So this is like, and I think she slowly turned into a star. Like she had the highest quarter the time she won the belt or whatever. And it's like, if they create a second star, like next to Britt, whatever, I'm like, okay, they're actually creating stars in this, supposed bereft terrible, horribly booked division. So like, what is the contemporaries doing? Like, what's the competition doing? Like, I think that's just a vote of like, hey, they actually created people. So I'm really impressed with like what they're doing with Jade, and she's got her limitations still in the ring. Yeah, so it's like, but it's like, this was a great step forward. Like, so she has like 25 career matches. So literally,
that's funny. Yeah. So I'm with you. Like, I'm like,
I wish we could get her to big woman camp, like send her to Stardom, and like, you gonna wrestle with Micah and Mecca for 2 weeks, and then come back.
Speaking of that, Rich, you want to throw up the alley-oop?
I will throw the alley. James, hit the music.
So, the 15th and the 16th shows, the 15th show, I will run through the results, but like, that show was pretty mid. Like, I think the best match probably 3 1/4. So, let me get to my Stardom section here. That's the reason why I pulled out the tablet, so that I could see my notes. And what did I do? First thing I do, grab my phone. So, first match was Mina versus Waka. This is a tune-up match to get Mina some wins before her match with Tekla. And I'm not gonna call her Thekla no more.
Nope, like, not doing it.
Yeah, JD from Redcast was like, it's actually Tekla, not Thekla. I was like, well, that's kind of my joke, because like, she's spelling the shit wrong and she speaks English. So I was like, if you want to put an H there for no reason, then I'm gonna get on you. I'll start calling her Tekla. So to rev up for that match, they put Mina in there with Waka, and boy, this was one of the worst matches I've seen in Stardom in a long time. That was some like comedy bullshit match. Like, they was fucking up some simple stuff. Like, they fucked up a Romero special.
How?
Like, like Waka's leg wasn't like secured or slipped out, and she didn't do her part, and then like, she was basically like a house of cards out there, and they fell down, and they didn't even try it again. It was like, fuck it, we're just gonna move on. And then Mina went to slap on a figure 4, and boy, the Miz never slapped on a figure 4 this poorly before. It was, she finally got to it. It looked ugly, but she ended up she didn't bridge up, but she basically like Mina basically like she positioned herself to get more leverage, and Waka immediately tapped out. That's the first time I ever seen Mina use a figure 4, but yeah, so she's using that now in her matches. Like, I gave that shit 1 star.
Ooh. Yeah.
Like, people on Cage Match gave it better than that, but like, I was just so out. I was like, this is it. This is what we're doing here. This is what we're doing. So next match after that, a 3-way match, Mai and Utami and Saki, and man, like, it was just like, I feel like it would have been more compelling if they had made it a 2-on-1 handicap match, because like, it basically brought down that way the whole time. Anyway, we're like, Saki, she knows, she ain't no dummy, she's a vet, she wants no smoke with Utami. She's like, hey, Mai, you dumb, come help me fight this fucking bear. And then, once we get the advantage, I'll double cross you because you're dumb. Ultimately, Utami overcomes it, ends up laying out Mai with a deadlift German suplex. Next match after that, Tam and Unagi versus Kamatani and Lady C. I sent you a clip of this match. I sent y'all a clip of that match. Match is good. Ultimately, at the end, you get Unagi in the ring with in close stretch with Lady C. and Unagi goes for her move, her double underhook made in Japan looking deal, and she gets her up at the apex before she goes to drop her. And I'm looking at Lady C's neck, and I'm in her head, and I'm like, "Oh my God, she's not gonna get her over. She's not gonna be able to turn her over."
Clip.
And I was like, please, I was like, abort mission or something. She drops her anyway, and Lady C at the very last second, as Unagi goes to fall, it looks like she's about to land right on top of her head. And C at the last second like retucks her head, so she was able to like, instead of landing on the top of her head, land on like the back of her head. And you can see the two announcers in the background, like, they're kind of like they're with Rossi, always sitting down there super stoic and don't react to anything. You can see in their face like they just go to shock concern for a split second as they see from behind her how her head landed. And she doesn't move until the ref comes to finish, and then immediately pushes Unagi off of C, and then like literally like puts her, checks her hand to make sure she can still move. But like as it's happening, like C's legs never move. So I'm just sitting there like, oh my God, like how bad is this? Because I'm looking at the schedule ahead of time. It's on Stardom's website but I'm in the section so I don't see the spoilers or the match results. So I see that like the matches for this past weekend shows didn't have her on it, and they said that like they had to change the card because she was absent. I didn't know what happened, but as I see her neck, as I see that she's about to get dropped to the floor, I'm like, no, God, it's something bad. Like she just she had control of her motor skills, whatever else, and then they Utami basically put her on her back and walked her to the back. But yeah, it was a rough landing. It could have been worse. By the grace of God, she decided to tuck her head right as she's falling top of her head. So next match after that, you get Mayu and Azuki and Kaguma versus Julia's new trio of Mariah and Tekla. And they have a pretty good match, like probably in the 3 1/4 range. I'm trying to think, was there anything in particular especially happened in this match? I can't remember anything. I have nothing of note. I'll tell you the finish though. The match ends up. Oh yeah, the match goes to a draw. Like it's Tekla and Azuki, or Tekla and Azuki in the ring, and like Tekla hits a buzzsaw kick and goes for a cover, and Azuki ends up like looks dead to rights, and then like right as she hits the 2 count, and you're at 2.5, the bell rings for the 15-minute time limit draw. It was actually it was actually a really good finish. So after that, the main event is Shuri and Micah and Himeka versus Starlight Kid, Momo, and Ruaka. So the pre-match promo, Shuri and Himeka are like, where's Micah? Where is she? I can't find her. Like, I haven't seen her all week or all weekend. Where is she? And then all of a sudden, like, they see somebody come into in frame of the camera, and they're like laughing. And next thing you know, Micah has a fucking bear hoodie on with like the hood up.
I saw this.
And she's stone faced. Don't make all she does is blink, and she's looking like just turning around in a circle, and like Shuri and Himeka are laughing and like, what, like just being goofy, right? So they come all down to the ring, and she's basically I forgot what Kaguma calls her. Oh, sorry. Calls her Mike-kuma, which is like Kaguma and Micah together, like bear Micah. So she came out, and she's dressed as a bear. They Oedo Tai jumps him at the bell. Ultimately, they have a good match. Not nothing great or anything, especially for like a Stardom main event. But the closing stretch comes down to Shuri being in there with Ruaka, and she ends up hitting a buzzsaw kick and getting the win. And that was all for the Saturday show from the 15th. The 16th show, much better show. More like the shows that we're accustomed to seeing. Opener, like I said, like they're supposed to be, the car got flipped up, so you end up in the opener, Shuri in a 3-on-1 handicap match versus Waka, Mai, and Roaka. And like she just takes out all in one foul swoop. The finish is she kicks one of them in the head, she slams the other one, Shuri, and then she ends up lifting up Waka and putting her on her shoulder in fireman carry position, and then basically does like the Cedric Alexander back adjustment or chiropractic adjustment, except to the gut. Except it was a gut buster instead it to the back, and that's how she won with. I forgot what she calls it, but it's something in Japanese. So next match after that, Tam and Mina versus Julia and Tekla, and you get Mina in there, and Mina has a new shirt, and it's basically like a comic book artist drew a sketch of her doing her pose, the Mina pose. And I don't know, this isn't actually being broadcast, and even if it was broadcast, I mean, like, I would have got clipped. Like, why am I doing the Mina pose in front of Rich on camera? What the fuck's going on? Anyway, so that's a shirt. It's her doing the Mina pose, and then like Tekla got her own version of the shirt where like it's Mina doing the pose, and then behind her is like Tekla incoming with a sliding lariat to the back of Mina's head. So they started out scrapping it out, and they have pretty good chemistry. I think they're going to have a good match. How good, I don't know, but I think they're going to definitely have a good match at worst. Obviously you get Tam and Julia in there. They do the Tam and Julia thing where they beat the shit out of each other. And then they fight to a draw. They basically run into the closing stretch with Mina and Tekla. Tekla seemingly has the match won, and then Mina ends up pulling out her flash finish, like Milana, the Mina collection, the glorious collection, Milana collection ATs.
I got a message. I got a message to the Giffers. Can y'all please stop clipping this Tekla spider walk and then spear? Like we've seen.
How many times have you seen it already?
I swear I've seen it like 7 different times already.
She does it in every match because it started to pretty much see everyone's spots in the same match every single time. Yeah.
Bro, like, and then
are people like shocked every time they see like, I've never seen no shit like it before? Like, well, I've seen it a lot now.
Like, bro, like, I don't know. And then they all like go running at her. I'm like, somebody roll out the ring, please. Like,
well, eventually she's gonna try to do her spear after that, and like someone's gonna like catch her with a V-trigger or a boot.
Bro, I can't wait till she tries that shit in front of Shuri, right? And then
boot
Shuri
her face right the fuck off.
Kicks her fucking block off while she's down in the spider.
I want to see her wrestle Omega, right? So that like she does that, and then Omega does. And look, let me get my shit off. I don't know why you feel like what the fuck would ever happen. Like we be out here booking dream matches all the time. Don't trip. Right, I'm still waiting on my Danielson and Shuri match. But anyway, I'm waiting for the Tekla Omega match where she does that, and then like she runs immediately into one of those makeshift V triggers where Omega don't run. The base like the standing knee strike. I'm waiting for her to run into one of them.
Do you remember the V trigger that he gave Jon Moxley at Full Gear when they broke the glass and shit? And it was like he just fucking launched through the air like. I picture that one.
I just particularly like the one where it's like, you think you had me the rights? Nah, hold this. So Mina ended up winning with her Flash Milana Collection AT finish or cradle or crucifix pin, whatever you want to call it. It's wacky lucha pin. That's what I'll call it from here forward. So, after that, you get Mayu and Hazuki and Kaguma, who have been tagging a lot lately I think they're going to another shot at the Trios titles eventually. But they're in there with Starlight Kid, Momo, and Saki. And in the pre-match promo, this is like one of the best use of a pre-match promo in a while in Stardom, where Starlight Kid's like, after I beat Kaguma those 2 times in the high-speed match and also that in her high-speed singles match and that throughway match at Sumo Hall, I had lost interest in her, but like she won the tag title, so like she's back on my radar. And then and then they went to Stars, and like Hazuki's like, yeah, like after Sumo Hall and and Momo midway through our tag match with Takumi and Mayu left me out there to fight on my own and die. I want my fair one. I want my fade. And then Mayu was like, you know, of course, it's like, this is Saki, this is Kid, this is Momo. Saki and Momo both betrayed me in the past, and like Starlight Kid left, so I won't smoke too. So like, this match is really fun. You start out with the high speed stuff between Kaguma and Kid. You end up getting eventually Hazuki and Momo in there, and like, I can't believe that like they haven't had a singles match with each other since the 2019 Grand Prix. Like, I cannot believe during Hazuki's retirement tour, she didn't get that match with Momo, because that would have been fucking electric. And I think we're gonna get one to get eventually this year, and that's just gonna be a blast. Like, they're fucking great together. They basically like Tammed and Juliet themselves with forearms, just beat the shit out of each other. You get Mayu in there with Momo at times, Mayu in there with Saki, and they're doing their thing, and ultimately at the end, you end up getting I believe it was Kaguma in there with Saki, and Saki, you know, goes for Crucifix Pin. She gets counted out of that, and then Kaguma ends up hitting her flash, bridging schoolboy thing for the win. Then you get a special singles match, the two challengers for the red and white belt. You get Unagi, you get Mirai, former, Tokyo Joshi Pro, young girls brought here. And they have a match that's one of Unagi's better matches in singles matches in Stardom. It could probably be 3.5. I gave it 3.25. Goes 15 minutes. It moved a lot faster than I thought it was going. Like, I thought that by the time they got to the 15-minute call, or to the 5-minute call, I was like, it felt like it was like 8 minutes or something like that. Anyway, a lot of power from Mirai. I don't know how it's going to mesh with Shuri, but Shuri can make anything work. Unagi's stepped up her game. Like, that's the stuff she's added, the stretch plum, working for submissions. During this match, Mirai actually slapped on a hoverboard lock and come over the hooks in. So like, she was fighting, and like, they got to a point to where Unagi put her in the gory special, and she had to let go because her arm was too weak to actually like sink it in tight enough. And then they end up going to where like Unagi had Mirai about to put her up, and then I don't know if it was the booker that said you ain't allowed to use this move no more after you dropped Lacey on her hair for a while or whatever else, but Mirai like back body dropped out of that, and then they went to it, and then the time expired for a time limit draw. And then the main event was Utami and Kamatani versus Micah and Himeka, and I gotta say, I think this is their best tag match together. Like, those four. Started out early and finished with Micah and Kamatani. They just got it down pat together. They just that's they two. Like, they're always good together now. Always. Like, if you ask me, like, best people that Micah's with, it's Utami, and then after that it's Kamatani at this point. Really great together. They get Utami in there with Himeka, and they just start running into each other with lariats. Lariat, and it's awesome. Yes, just Hoss battling. They get back in there, and they go down the closing stretch with Micah and Kamatani seemingly has the match won. I'm sorry, Micah is beating her ass. Kamatani then hits a Flash Rana, and then after the Flash Rana, she hits her with, I think, a big boot. About to go for her finish. Himeka wipes her out. Then Micah ends up hitting her Michinoku Driver 2, ends up pinning Kamatani. So you already know what that's gonna lead to. They're gonna have white belt match sooner rather than later, I imagine. So yeah, like they've been heating up Micah pretty much right after the Grand Prix. Like,
JD, you'll be happy about that.
Yeah, like she, she got her defense in her red belt title shot at Utami in the end of November, but like she had, in Sumo Hall anyway, she had let's go back further. Like, they retained they won the 10 million yen, right? They won the 10 million yen. Then at Sumo Hall in that trios match she was in, like, the finish was her base. Like, she Michinoku Driver 2, like, all three members of Cosmic Angels dropped them all in her hand, got the pin by herself. She didn't need Himeka or Naz support. She just beat all their asses by herself. And then, she just beat the white belt champion. I don't think she's lost yet this year or been pinned or submitted this year. Like, so they're keeping her very strong. This might be her year.
Nice.
So yeah, that's it for Stardom. We're gonna do a midweek show, and I'll do the 2 shows from this weekend. They'll be up by then. We're gonna preview Royal Rumble with Floyd from All Things Elite, and then in the second half we'll we'll do this weekend Stardom shows and preview the pay-per-view, because that's also this weekend as well. So it'll be Royal Rumble on a Saturday versus Stardom on a Saturday.
Royal Rumble Saturday?
Yeah, it's moved to Saturday this week.
I didn't even know.
Yeah, I think there's like 8 of the pay-per-views this year are on Saturday.
Shots fired.
Yeah. So let me just make sure. I'm pretty sure that's what I remember hearing. Hold on. Royal Rumble 2022 date.
Yeah, man. So, but yeah, make sure you guys are voting on the One Nation Radio Awards. Going to be trying to wrap those up shortly. Seeing some more ballots come in slowly. So we're trying to get as much voting as possible to a couple close races. So yes, Saturday, January 29th is the Royal Rumble. Wow. So we will see how that goes.
Yeah. Same day as so that's going to be I guess fun. I mean, it makes sense, at least for this week. There's like, all right, so they're actually running on the AFC champ. Like, normally they do it during the Pro Bowl week, Royal Rumble. Mm-hmm. I think things are a little different because, NFL moved to a 17 game schedule as opposed to those 16. So they're running on a Saturday. They'll still have the weekend, but they'll avoid the football by a day. And UFC was last weekend, the Ngannou match or fight. So yeah, so a lot of stuff this weekend. So we'll be back to y'all on Thursday, and we'll cover all that stuff. We'll give you the previews. But yeah, that's the end of the show. Thanks for listening, y'all. Be sure to rate us on whatever app you're using to listen to this with. As Rich mentioned, with the One Nation Radio Awards, links in the description. Feel free to vote for what you know. Leave the shit you don't know alone. Be sure to also go to Red Circle and hit us up with a donation. I believe that's in the description as well. Or if not, I will go over it. I will put it in there today. Donations. So donations. Yeah. Also be sure to check out the other shows on the network. Besides One Nation Radio, you have Keepin It Strong Style, the Ricky Clive Wrestling Show, Grown Washes Shit, the Grave Consequences Podcast, 8-Bit Suplex, All Things Elite, Great Match Generator, and AEW Match Guide. Thanks for listening, y'all. Later.
Peace.
Did you know Amazon provides ways of working that fits your lifestyle? They know you value your time outside of work, juggling family, school, friends, or other activities. That's why they offer a variety of shifts that work for you. There are full-time, part-time, and even temporary opportunities that can work with your schedule, with great starting pay and sign-on bonuses. If you want a career that fits and adapts to your lifestyle, head to Amazon.com/apply. Amazon is a proud equal opportunity employer.